Hello students, I am Fahim Ahmed Khan, Assistant Professor from the Department of Civil Engineering, Babu Anasi Das University, Lucknow. I will be teaching the subject surveying for the next few days to you all. At the end of the lectures, you will be able to know about the basics of the surveying. You will be able to calculate the reduced level of different stations. You will be able to understand the basics of curve and plane table survey. You will also be able to compute or calculate the area and volume of field using survey techniques present in surveying. The subject which I will cover is divided into 4 units. I have covered most of the parts which you need to know. The books which I will recommend you will be the best book is BC Punamia, Surveying Volume 1. Later on, we will discuss other books also. Let us now start with the first unit, that is the basics. Now, coming on the basics of surveying, starting it this subject with a definition. Surveying is an art of measuring distances, angles, and positions on or near the surface of the earth, which means that in survey you basically measure the distances which may be horizontal or vertical, the angles which may also be horizontal and vertical, and the positions of different points which may be on the ground, above the ground, or beneath the surface of the ground. So basically, what is surveying? Surveying is an art of measuring the distances between some points, the angles between the lines, and a position or a number of positions on the surface of the ground, above the ground, or beneath the surface of the ground. So why is it an art? Why do we call survey an art? So here is the answer. Because only a surveyor who possesses through understanding of surveying techniques will be able to determine the most efficient methods required to obtain optimal results over a wide variety of surveying problems, which means that only a specialized or a trained person who is a surveyor will only be able to calculate these distances, these positions, these angles. Not a layman can calculate these values. Only a specialized person who knows how to use the instruments, tapes, chains, other survey instruments will only be able to measure the distance, angle, and position. That is why it is called an art of measuring the distances or the angles. Now, coming on to the next slide, the principle of surveying. Basically, talking about the principles, there are only two principles of surveying which are always asked in the exams. So, the two principles, talking about the two principles, first is the location of a point by measurement from 2 points of reference, and the other is from the other principle of surveying is the proceeding of the work from whole to part. So now let us discuss the first principle, which is the location of a point by measurement from 2 points of reference. Here, according to this principle, the relative position of a point to be surveyed should be located by measurement from at least 2 points of reference, the positions of which have already been fixed. Now, here what you have to underline is that you should know at least 2 points before finding out the third point. For finding out a point, you need a minimum two reference point to locate the third point. So what does the principle state? It states that the relative position of a point which is unknown can be located by measurement from at least 2 points of reference. That means point A and B, here we have taken in the figure point P and Q are the known points, and R is a point which is unknown. Our task is to find the point R on the ground. There are many methods to find this unknown location or point of R. We know point P and Q. In the figure A, you can see to locate point R, we can directly measure two distances from P to R and Q to R to find the third point. In figure B, you can see that from a line PQ, an offset has been taken to the point R. What is offset? It is a perpendicular line drawn on some other line. So an offset SR has been drawn on the line PQ. In this way, we know if a point is normal to the line PQ and it is located somewhere, it must be in direction somewhere perpendicular to the point PQ. Coming on to the figure C, we can find out point R by knowing its angle. Point P and Q is connected with a line. These points are connected with a line, and these are the known reference points. We have to find point R. Once we know an angle alpha from point Q, we can easily go in that direction and find a point R, which will be on the line QR. Coming on to the figure D, we can say that point Q and P are known to you. These are the reference points. You must be knowing an angle alpha, which is extended from point Q, a point beta, angle beta from point P. Both these lines are further extended to these angles alpha and beta respectively, and wherever they coincide, point R will be located. Now coming on to the figure E, you can see again the point P and Q are the known reference point. From one point Q, you have alpha, the known angle, and from point P, you know the distance. So you can measure the distance in a straight line, and you can measure an angle from point Q to find this point R. So there are many methods to locate the point. Either you can directly measure with the tape or the chain. You can measure the angle from a given point. You can take out the offset. There are many methods to find out that third point if you have at least two reference points which are known earlier to you. So the next survey principle states that working from whole to part. What does this mean? Let us read it. According to this principle, only, sorry, according to this principle, it is always desirable to carry out survey work from whole to part. This means when an area is to be surveyed, first a system of control points is to be established covering the whole area with very high precision. Then minor details are located by less precise methods. What does this mean? Here in the figure you can see the external curve, the circle, the boundary has been made first before carrying out the survey work, so as to minimize the possibility of error for the higher precision of work as required on the sites. First of all, we define the boundaries. We define the boundaries, the outer boundaries of the survey, and after that we proceed our work inwards. This will minimize the error which we are facing from the instrument or any human error. The idea of working this way is to prevent the accumulation of errors and to control and minimize or localize minor errors which otherwise would have expanded to greater magnitudes if the reverse process is followed, thus making the work uncontrolled at the end. So remember, we do not work from part to whole. We always work from whole to part. First of all, we define the boundaries of the survey. After that, we continue our survey work so that whatever is the error should be restricted to that boundary only. Otherwise, if the reverse has been incorporated, in that case, if we start from the inner locations, the accumulation of errors will be in a line, so which will be a cumulative error. It will be go on adding, and we will not have a defined boundary for that. So we will always work from whole to part. First of all, we will define the boundary with a higher precision, and after that we will continue to work inwards, so that if we are doing something wrong with an error, we will be able to know it, just because we will always be able to see the boundary. We will always have to work within the boundary. Once you are going outside the boundary, you will know that you have done your survey wrong. After that, you can correct it. So first of all, we will define the boundary. After that, we will do the minor works in that defined boundary only. So there are two basic principles of surveying. First is the location of a point by measurement from two points of reference, in which the third point is unknown, which is being located with the help of two known reference point. And the second is from and the second principle is working from whole to part. Okay, now coming on to the methods of surveying in civil engineering. Basically, there are two primary types of survey. First is the plane surveying, and the second is the geodetic survey. These differentiation have been done on the basis of curvature. If you consider we all know that the earth is not a flat body, it is somewhat spherical. So if we are going for some large construction or survey work, we will notice a we will always notice a curve on the earth. But while doing the minor works from point A to B, we will never be able to find the difference in curve. We will always think that the land is flat in profile, but in actual, the earth is not flat. In actual practice, the earth is not flat, it is somewhat spherical in shape. So the survey is divided into two parts: the plane surveying and the geodetic surveying. Now coming on to the plane surveying is conducted by state agencies as well as private agencies. It may be a government work, or it may be a private work. As we know, Earth is spherical in shape, but its diameter is big enough to consider the plane in small dimensions. As I have already mentioned, if we are going for a large work, the curvature of the earth will come into play, But for minor works, this curvature will not uh, be. This curvature will you will not feel the curvature on the land. The profile will be flat. It is that type of surveying in which the mean surface of the earth is considered as a plane and the spheroidal shape is neglected. This is the most important point. It is considered as plane and the spherical shape is neglected just because the range of work is very small. The limit of the work is very small. You will never notice a curvature for small works. So the curvature of the earth is not considered in plane surveying, hence it is known as plane surveying. All the triangles formed by survey lines are considered as plane triangles. The level line is considered as straight. Plane surveying is done of the area of survey if the area of survey is less than 250 kilometer square. Here in the figure you can see 3 points, point A, capital A, B and C, between which the survey has to be done. Now since the area must have been less than 250 square kilometers, the lines or the curvature has been considered as a straight line. The earth has been considered flat for a work less than 250 kilometers square. Hence, the lines made between the point capital A and capital B, or between the point capital B and capital C, or between the point capital A and C is a straight. Now, since these survey lines are straight and forming a triangle, the plane surface will be having a total summation of angles equal to 180 degree. Since triangle has the summation of interior angle as 180 degree, hence here in the figure you will be able to understand that all the lines are straight and forming a triangle. Hence its internal angle sum will be equal to 180. Now coming on to the second part of the survey, which is geodetic survey. Geodetic survey is conducted by survey department of the country. It is that type of surveying in which curved shape of the earth is taken into account. The object of geodetic survey is to determine the precise position of the surface of the earth of a system of widely distant points, which form control stations in which survey of less precision may be referred. Here, the curvature of the earth is taken into account, whereas in plane survey, the points here in the figure you can see that the line joining the point capital A and the point capital B is not a straight line. It is somewhat bent in the opposite direction, which is showing the curvature of the earth. The curvature which you can see, a sphere which has been made on the outer boundaries, you can relate these curve with that curve. Now the line joining the point capital A and capital B is not a straight line. Similarly, the line joining the point capital B and capital C is not straight, and in the same way, the line joining the point capital A and capital C is not straight. It is somewhat bent or have a curve in nature. That is why you can see this is not a perfect triangle. It is subtending an angle more than 180 degree. So referring to the previous figure, you can see the same points capital A, B and C which have been joined using a straight line. In this, the curvature of the earth was not taken into account, but in geodetic survey, this curvature is taken into consideration. That is why we are getting the sum of interior angles as greater than 180 degree. Line joining two points is considered as a curved line and angles are assumed as spherical angles. The angles which we are getting is known as the spherical angle. It is carried out if the area exceeds over 250 square kilometer. Now the range of the curve, the range of the survey work has been extended more than 250 square kilometer, which means we are increasing the limit of the survey. Hence, the curvature of the earth will be taken into consideration. For smaller work, we do not, up to 250 square kilometer, we do not consider the earth as curved, whereas in geodetic survey, curvature is considered if the area exceeds 250 square kilometer. Now, here is a table which will help you in differentiating both the plane surveying and geodetic survey. Now, discussing every point one by one. First of all, in plane surveying, the Earth's surface is considered as a plane surface, whereas in geodetic surveying, the Earth's surface is considered as a curved surface. Coming on to the plane surveying, the curvature of the Earth is ignored. Similarly, in geodetic surveying, the curvature of the Earth is taken into account. Coming on to the plane surveying, line joining any two stations is considered to be straight, whereas for geodetic surveying, the line joining any two stations is considered as spherical. Coming on to the plane surveying, the triangle formed by any 3 points is considered as a plane triangle, whereas coming on to the geodetic surveying, the triangle formed by any 3 points is considered as spherical. Since the lines are spherical, the triangle will also be spherical in shape. Coming on to the plane surveying, the angles of triangle are considered as plane angles, whereas for geodetic surveying, it will be considered as spherical angles. The lines will be spherical, the surface will be spherical. Similarly, the angles will also be spherical. The angles in plane surveying for a triangle will be equal to 180 degree, the sum of the interior angles, whereas for geodetic surveying, it will be more than 180 degree. The last point states that for plane surveying, the survey is carried out for a small area which is less than 250 square kilometer, whereas for geodetic survey, since the area need to be increased to consider the curvature, the survey is carried out for a small area which may or which have to be greater than 250 square kilometer. Here the term small does not mean that it should be smaller than 250 kilometer square, but it is small in comparison to the area present on the earth, but in total it should be greater than 250 square kilometers. So this table shows the difference between the plane surveying and geodetic surveying. Coming on to the classification of surveying, the survey can be classified on some parameters which are based on the nature of the field of survey, the type of survey, or the nature of the field. You have a land, or you have air or water survey. Now next is the object of the survey. What is the object of your survey? And last, the instrument of the survey used. So the classification of survey is based or has been done considering these three major points: the nature of the field of survey, the object of the survey, and the instruments used. Now discussing the first point, which is the nature of the survey. The survey based on nature of the survey. The first one is topographical survey. You all are familiar with it. You have studied it. You must have studied it in geography. It states that they are carried out to determine the position of natural features of a region, such as rivers, streams, hills, etc., and artificial features such as roads and canals. The purpose of such survey is to prepare maps, and such maps of are called topo sheets. You are familiar with topo sheets. Uh, with the help of topo sheets, you can uh, easily find out some natural features, which may be a river body, which may be a stream, a hill. It can be any geographical feature which may be natural. You can easily locate it on a topographic map. You can also find out artificial features such as the curves of the road, the curves of the canals which are man-made. You can easily locate the railway lines. You can locate important buildings such as church, temple, mosque, and different type of man-made structures which are mentioned on the topo sheets. The topo sheet is scaled to some unit. For example, a scale of 1 inch to 100 feet has been given in this example. So a topographical survey is conducted to find out some kind of features. It may be natural or artificial. Coming on to the second point, which is the hydrographic survey. Now, when we were talking about the land survey, the survey was named as topographical survey. But coming on, if we are talking about a water body, the survey is known as hydrographic survey. The hydrographic survey is carried out to determine MSL. What is MSL? It is the mean sea level. In the next unit, we will discuss what mean sea level states. So, for now, it is just an average of the waves, the high tides and low tides. It is the average of the tides, which you need to know for a surface, for survey work. So, mean sea level can be determined with the help of hydrographic survey. Water spread area, in what amount of area the water body has been spread. The depth of the water body can be calculated by this survey. The velocity of the flow in the stream can also be calculated with the help of this survey. Cross sectional area of the flow, which is taken for the study, can be calculated with the help of this kind of survey. So a lot of uh, the survey work can be done in the river body or in the water body, which may be a river body, ocean. It can be anything, but it should be a form of water body. So the hydrographic survey is carried out to determine different parameters which are present in water bodies. Here in this figure, you can see a ship equipped with different equipments. You can find out the depth of the bed, the tide correction, the actual depth of the bed, the chart depth, the reference datum, the reference point from which you conduct your survey, the observed depth by the instruments. So there are many different values and parameters which you can find out in a water body with the help of hydrographic survey. Next is the astronomical survey. You are always familiar with it. The astronomical survey is carried out to determine the absolute location of a point on the surface of the Earth. So the survey consists of making observation to heavenly bodies such as stars. Sometimes stars are considered for finding out the location or navigation purposes. In previous time, uh, when we were not well equipped with these modern technologies and equipments, stars were taken help from which you always marked your way to go from one place to another. In this era of technology, we use GPS. With the help of satellites, we locate our points, we navigate our destinations. So that comes under astronomical survey. Now, the survey which we do is the engineering survey. This type of survey is undertaken whenever sufficient data is to be collected for the purpose of planning and designing engineering works such as roads, bridges, and reservoirs. So, this is the type of survey which we will have to study in our curriculum for future purpose also, since we as a civil engineer will have to construct roads, bridges, structures, and reservoirs, and other types of structures also. So prior to which survey work has to be done. The survey work has to be done prior the construction of these structures. So different parameters such as leveling is done, the distances are being calculated when we define the boundaries of some residential area. We define the boundaries of some community work or different things. We need to know the limits, the boundaries of those structures, the slope of that uh, area on which the building is to be constructed. You cannot construct a building, you will never go for a building which is tilted in shape. You will always like to live in a residential compound in which of which the base is being placed on a flat surface. So the engineering survey is the actual type of survey in which we have to deal as a civil engineer. You have different equipments with the help of which you calculate the distances, the angles, slope, levels, and different type of things which we will discuss later on. The next is archaeological survey. You all are familiar with the archaeological survey. In India, we have Archaeological Survey of India, which is the department which deals with the survey uh, which we do for historical monuments. This is the type of survey which is carried out to gather information about sites that are important from archaeological considerations. We have found different cities underground. We have found different monuments. These all come under the archaeological survey. That is a different field from civil engineering, but it is a part of survey. So the survey which deals with the archaeological aspects is known as archaeological survey. The aerial survey, now this is an interesting type of survey which you will study in surveying 2. In this type of survey, data about large tracts of land is calculated by taking photographs from an aeroplane. Now, it would be interesting to know that aeroplanes are used for surveying purposes also. It is not only for transporting people from one place to another. It is also used for surveying works. Now, I want to give some examples. Like if some area has been flooded, it is a type of natural disaster. If flood comes, the whole land area is submerged underwater. So, to know how much amount of work has to be done, or to see the people who got stuck in the flood, we have to conduct a survey. Now, this survey cannot be done on land just because the land has already been submerged underwater. So we go for aerial survey. You must have seen prime ministers and other ministers sitting on the plane and just looking at the area which has been affected by the flood. So it is also a type of survey. Basically, dealing with civil engineering, this type of survey is done. You can see in another picture. You can see a line, blue line, which is the line of flight. The line of flight on which this flight, this aeroplane has been moved. A digital camera has been mounted on the bottom of this aeroplane, the work of which is to keep on clicking the photographs. Now, why do we do that? Why don't we just go for land surveying with the help of instruments? When the survey is small, it can be done with those instruments. But talking about the large surveys, which needs to locate the physical features, which needs to locate the river boundary, the hills, the mountains, the train tracks, the roads, for which we have very little amount of time. We have to submit the survey in very little amount of time. We make use of aeroplanes. Now in the figure you can see a digital camera has been mounted on the aeroplane, the base of the aeroplane. It will keep on clicking photos with the help of computer. It is a computer generated software which defines the time period after which the photos will have to be clicked after some time. The regular interval of time, after some regular interval of times, the photos will be taken. Here you can see digital camera, and you can see blue rectangles downwards. These are the photographs which show the projection which can be seen from this aircraft. Now, once all the photographs have been taken, you can see that GNSS, the satellites are being connected to the GPS base station. It will keep on locating the points from which the photographs have been taken. The coordinates of the point will always be available from which point the survey has been done, the photographs have been clicked. After the completion of this travel of the flight, the photographs are being placed in a line, and with the help of a spectro scope, the stereoscope, you will be able to see the 3D images of the actual ground position. With the help of these 2D photographs and with the help of a stereoscope, you will be able to see the features in a 3D form. So when the survey is to be conducted on a large scale, aerial survey is performed. Now the second type of surveying, which is based on the type of instruments, is first of all, the first instrument is the chain survey. Chain surveying is the basic and the oldest type of surveying. The principle involved in chain surveying is of triangulation. Uh, Small triangles are made while performing the survey. The area to be surveyed is divided into a number of small triangles. Angles of triangle must not be less than 30 degree and greater than 120 degree. While performing this chain survey and marking the triangles, you should always consider this point, that the angles of the lines between which you made, which from which the triangle has been made, these lines should have an angle greater than 30 degree and less than 120 degree. Now, equilateral triangle are considered to be ideal triangle, but it is not possible in actual practice. It is an ideal condition in which equilateral triangles are made. No angular measurements are taken. For that, the calculation may be easier. Tie lines and check lines control accuracy of the work. Now, to check whether you are performing the survey right or not, is there any error or not, you always have check lines. You have a check line, you measure it with a tape, you see it on the survey line. If it is equal to the check line, you are performing your survey correct or in a correct manner. But if the chain line and the line you measured on the ground is different uh, in length, then there is some error. This method is suitable on level ground with little undulation and area to be surveyed is small. As discussed earlier, chains can be used for the areas which are small in size. You cannot go on measuring with the help of chain. The chains are of 20 meter or 30 meter length. You cannot go on measuring by this chain for large areas. So this work is carried out only for small works and for a profile or a land which do not have undulations. What is this undulation? This is the depressions or the curves you find on the ground. You do not find the, in actual practice, you never find a ground surface leveled straight. So we avoid this type of measurement if we have much undulations, because it will affect our readings. So this is performed when the undulation is not there. Coming on to the next survey, it is compass surveying. Compass survey uses the principle of traversing. This method does not require the need to create triangles. It uses a prismatic compass for measuring magnetic bearing of line, and the distance is measured by chain. A series of connecting lines is prepared using compass, and measuring distances using chain. The angles are measured by this compass, and the distances are being measured by the chain which you studied previously. Interior details are located using offsets from main survey lines. They are suitable for large area surveying crowded with many details. It can be used to survey a river course when where you have a river body. You can perform the uh, compass survey. Here it is a figure of compass showing its various components. We will later on discuss how to calculate angles and what are meridians, true meridian, magnetic meridian, what is its principle, uh, how many types of compasses are there. We will discuss later on. Now, the plane table survey. The instrument when used is plane table. The surveying is known as plane table survey. The principle of plane table survey is parallelism. What is it? They are plotted directly on paper with their relative positions. The rays are drawn from station to object on ground. The table is placed at each of the successive station parallel to the position of the last station. They are basically suitable for filling interior detailing and is recommended when large accuracy is not required. Since we cite the points, here you can see in the figure the point P on the ground and P on the table 2. So this plane table survey helps you to locate the actual positions onto the ground, to transfer the actual positions onto the ground to the chart paper. Here you can see small point P is drawn on the chart paper and capital P is drawn on the ground, is a point on the ground. It has been transferred on the paper. Similarly, point A, B, C, D, E will be transferred to the chart paper by seeing it with the help of LED, making a line, drawing a line on the paper while citing the points respectively, and drawing it on paper, which will help an engineer on or in the office to study about the location which is already present on the ground. He or she can study the locations, the surroundings of a point in the office while being in the office uh, by performing plane table surveying. Now coming on to the next survey, it is theodolite surveying. The theodolite is an important instrument used mainly for accurate measurements of the horizontal and vertical angles. They are accurate to measure up to 10 seconds or 20 seconds of angles. Theodolite can be used to measure the horizontal angles, vertical angles, deflection angle, horizontal distance between 2 points, vertical height between 2 points. Nowadays, theodolite is shadowed and replaced by the use of total station, which can perform the same task with greater ease and accurate results. Since it is the conventional method, but we have to study it with the help of a theodolite, which you can see in the figure. Horizontal and vertical angles are located, are being calculated, and with the help of trigonometry, vertical distances can also be taken out. Tachymetric surveying. Tachymetry is a branch of surveying in which horizontal and vertical distances are determined by taking angular observations with an instrument known as a tachymeter. Tachymeter is nothing but a transit theodolite fitted with a stadia diaphragm and an lens. There is no need for chaining in such survey. Here chain is avoided and the process is known as tachymetry. The principle of tachymeter is based on property of isosceles triangles where ratio of the distance of the base from the apex and the length of the base is always constant. Now, this was the part which I covered, the classification of surveys. Now we will end our lecture for the day here. and we will continue it in another class.